Hey guys, welcome back. This week we're going to take a look at some of the best Super NES games that almost no one has played, probably including you. Yes, you. So we're going to correct that today by talking about a few games that most likely either was passed up because of zero interest in the game or just the fact that it looked like a bad idea all around. So sit back and relax and let's get things started with a game that just really never seemed to get any sort of attention, even though it looked so dang good. The Ninjawarriors for the Super NES is one of those games that I just can't believe more people didn't play. Now admittedly, there were a lot of games vying for kids' attention when Ninjawarriors came out back in 1994. But I mean, come on, just look at this game. It's like a bunch of Terminator endoskeletons dressed up in ninja outfits and started doing all these crazy karate moves. And if you like beat-em-ups, then you're in for a good time with Ninjawarriors. Basically pick from 3 robot ninjas that all have their own strengths and weaknesses. Big Boy here can punch like a bear, but his speed and slow punches means that you're going to need to constantly close gaps with his jet-powered backpack. The Girl Ninja's actually like the most well-rounded of all of them, with a nice mix of speed and power, along with her throw that allows you just to grab a guy and then plow across the screen with him, knocking down everyone in the process. And finally, there's this chicken robot ninja guy, who's obviously the most fast and agile one of all of them, with blade arms that he uses to slice up anyone around it. All 3 ninjas also get a screen-clearing super attack that slowly charges up as you fight. Just don't get knocked down or the bar resets itself. Once you picked your favorite Ninja Terminator, it's up to you to slice your way through dozens of enemies in some really solid arcade action. As you might have noticed already, the Ninjawarriors does away with the standard beat-em-up formula of being able to walk into and out of the screen, and is instead a strictly walk left and right affair. While you might think that would restrict the gameplay, well, you'd be wrong. It actually just distills it down to the point where there's almost no downtime or awkward hit detection as you try to line your character up with the enemy that you want to punch. Instead, there's a constant stream of enemies coming at you from each side of the screen, leaving it up to you on how you need to deal with each individual one. Some enemies even have front-facing armor that you need to get around to damage, all while you're trying to do these cool ninja flips and kicks to deal with the other guys that are trying to ruin your day. It kind of just makes you feel like a ninja, so I mean, I guess it's got that going for it. There's very few beat-em-ups that feel as fast and fluid as Ninjawarriors. It's just so much fun to beat guys up in this game, and it doesn't hurt that it looks just as good as it plays. The huge characters and really well-drawn backgrounds, plus all the over-the-top ninja animations, this is just as good as you can get on the Super NES. And that's why I just don't get how so many people passed on this one back in the day. The only people that I knew that ever played this game were the same sickos like me that played just about every game you could get a hold of. No one else even knew that this game existed. Admittedly, the game didn't get much magazine coverage back then that I saw, which is basically how your game lived and died as far as anyone even knowing about it. But still, this was always in stock at my video store. It's like no one even wanted to try it except me. And I think that just sucks because Ninjawarriors is one of the best games on the Super NES. And it just so happens that it's one of the best games you can get on any system these days, since it was completely remade and renamed to the Ninja Saviors. And as far as what I've played, this is even better than the Super NES version, with completely remastered graphics, all new moves, and even some of the content that was originally cut from the US Super NES version. So yeah, if you're one of the many people that missed out on either the Super NES original or this completely awesome remake, then tie your favorite t-shirt around your face like the dollar store ninja that you are, and sit down with this awesome sci-fi ninja beat-em-up. Biker Mice from Mars is another game from 1994 that was criminally overlooked. Now, if you've never heard of Biker Mice from Mars, then you obviously didn't grow up in the early 90s. This was one of about 6,000 or so cartoons that got tossed at kids back then in an effort to get us to spend money on toys. And if you wanted to get our attention in an ocean of cartoons, then you really needed to stand out. And a show about alien mice in a post-apocalyptic world that ride on motorcycles to fight evil, well, I'm not gonna lie, that's pretty good. And sure enough, it actually did really well, lasting 3 seasons or something, which is nothing to sneeze at back then. That also helped it get a ton of merchandise made for it. Toys, t-shirts, the whole 9 yards. Including a video game from none other than Konami. Yes, the same Konami that gave us some of the best games on the Super NES. And while you might be expecting Konami to bless us with yet another godly beat-em-up in the same vein as Turtles in Time, what we get instead is a racing game. Yeah, for whatever reason, Konami went with an isometric racing game for this one. And I mean, I guess I can kind of see where they're coming from. The cartoon is centered around mice that ride motorcycles, so racing game? Yep, racing game. If you've ever played rock and roll racing, then get ready for some serious deja vu, since Konami just essentially took the blueprint that rock and roll racing built its game around and basically said, what if we put mice in that? And you know what? I'm kind of glad they did, because Biker Mice from Mars is a pretty dang good racer. All you need to do to get things started is to pick your favorite alien and or mouse person, and then it's off to the track to try and blast your way through each race, cash in your winnings to upgrade your bike, and then rinse and repeat to make it through each round. Each track features a bunch of different obstacles that you need to contend with just as much as the other racers that are trying to slam you off the side of the track. Again, if you played rock and roll racing, then you're gonna feel right at home here. I will say that the character variety in Biker Mice is far better than the generic vehicles that you got in rock and roll racing, with some of them being just straight up weird, like this crab walker car. Unfortunately, each vehicle only gets one type of weapon to use though, so make sure you experiment with each one to find something that works. Overall, this is a very simple racer, which I guess shouldn't surprise anyone since it's based around a cartoon made for 7-year-olds. But what is surprising is just how much fun it is. And for someone like me that always wanted a sequel to rock and roll racing, I'm kind of mad that I just never picked this one up. It doesn't have the kinetic, crazy racing feeling that rock and roll did, but it's still a lot of fun on its own, and it really gets challenging with each new round. I feel like this game kind of fell on its own sword by not only being based on a kid's cartoon, but also being a racing game, which was just not the most popular genre on consoles back then, unless you were Mario Kart. But kudos to Konami, I guess, for trying something different. Turns out these Biker Mice are worth riding around with. Wicked. Cool Spot for the Super NES is a great example of a game that a lot of people may have passed up on just due to what it is. Now, I will say that Cool Spot did sell well, but I really don't think anyone can blame the people that passed on it. What kid is going to waste their hard-earned money on buying a literal advertisement in video game form? Yes, in case you've completely forgotten or haven't lived 700 years like I have, 7-Up had a cute little mascot called Cool Spot for their brand back in the 90s. And I guess it must have been pretty popular because this thing was everywhere back then. Popular enough to even get a video game featuring the little guy sitting on store shelves. Now you may be asking, Jeremy, that's me by the way, my name's Jeremy, why did you play this? And furthermore, why would you feature it in a video? Well, the only answer that I can give you is because I thought Cool Spot was cute. And I also think that this game is pretty good. Good enough to be in a video. Yes, it's essentially an advertisement for 7-Up, but it's still a good game on its own. You of course play as Cool Spot, doing all the things a Cool Spot does, like wander around on the beach and sneak around in your crawl space for whatever reason, along with some other household locations. Your goal in each level is to explode everything in your path using your magical 7-Up powers while trying to find your little Cool Spot buddies that are trapped in cages. To free each trapped buddy, you'll need to collect enough of the spots that are littered around each stage. Hit the magic number and then you can bust your friend out of the clink and then move on to the next level. This one's definitely more of an exploration type platform game here, with levels sprawling all over the place. So if you're expecting non-stop action from Cool Spot, well, then you might want to look elsewhere. But I always had a lot of fun exploring each level and trying to find all the spots that are hidden around. And it doesn't hurt that Cool Spot himself kept my attention on sheer charm alone. His little animations as he walks and flips around obstacles is still really good these days. That all probably has something to do with David Perry working on this game. You know, the guy that would go on to make a little game called Earthworm Jim. And you can definitely see some of that Earthworm Jim charm here as well. But really, when it comes down to it, this could have been the best designed game ever, but it's still a game based around a soda mascot. And that by itself is gonna get some sideways looks from kids passing by. Sometimes though, taking a gamble on something that doesn't look very appealing on the surface pays off, and if you're like me, then you end up with fond memories of a game about 7-Up. Life is definitely weird sometimes. And this game is just as weird, but in a good kind of weird. Not only is it a time capsule of early 90s soda nostalgia, but it's a great little platformer on its own. So if you've got an unusual appetite for the original Uncola and cute mascot platformers, then maybe seek professional help. But do so after playing this awesome little advertisement for the crispiest of sodas. Skyblazer for the Super NES is a neat little game that hardly anyone's played. But that probably has a lot to do with people skipping it as soon as they saw that this game came from Sony ImageSoft, a publisher mainly known for a bunch of bad video game adaptations of Sony's movie properties at the time. With such blowout hits as Cliffhanger, a game where you run around as Sylvester Stallone on the side of a mountain in the most painfully boring beat-em-up that's ever been created on the Super NES. And also the absolute masterpiece that is The Last Action Hero. This one's so bad that even Sony tried to deny that they had anything to do with it. But Sony ImageSoft wasn't completely bereft of decent games, and Skyblazer is proof of that. What you essentially get here is an action platformer set in a pretty generic fantasy world, where you're doing the whole hero gets beat down by the evil villain guy at the beginning of the game, and now it's up to you to find and defeat him to set things right with the world. It's eye-rollingly standard video game stuff. But the rest of the game actually has some moxie to it. There's a lot of fun platforming here thanks to just how fast and smooth it feels to control your character. Though his standard attack has a really odd hitbox that seems to whiff enemies even when it looks like you're hitting them. But even with that, I was still having a lot of fun running around and punching monsters in the face with this guy. A lot of the stages also have some really neat visual gimmicks to them, like this rotating tower that moves as you jump around it, and even a stage where you fly your way through like a kind of awkward shooter. There's generally always some kind of new, unique challenge in just about every level that you play, but that's not really always a good thing though, since some stages are just kinda awful, like this water stage that introduces one of the worst mazes that I've seen in a while, where you have to hit these switches to change the water flow to make it through. Unfortunately, you don't really know what each switch does, so you're just kind of swimming around in circles for ages trying to figure out the right combination. Still, there's definitely more good than bad here. It's just that the bad can kind of stand out. You also get new abilities as you play through the levels, like being able to dash across the screen or even heal yourself when you're low on health. Though once you get that heal spell, I can guarantee you that's what you're going to be using for like 90% of the rest of the game. The other powers are nice, but these monsters hit hard, and health pickups don't come too often. The bosses in the game are also impressive, since they all use some kind of neat Mode 7 effect in ways that are up there with some of the better on the system. Especially this rotating wall boss, where you have to jump through the gaps as he spins around. It's actually done really well. Oh, and if you're like me and felt that Skyblazer feels incredibly familiar, well, it's taken the skeleton of the game Hook. You remember Hook, the game based on the Robin Williams movie of the same name? And I'll give you one guess who published that one too. Anyway, the same developers that made Hook essentially repurposed the game into Skyblazer. It's not a one-to-one comparison, but the two are very similar in a lot of ways. And hey, I guess that makes two games published by Sony ImageSoft that I actually like. Imagine that. Again, Skyblazer isn't gonna blow you away with gameplay or graphics, but this is just a really solid game, and I didn't feel like I wasted my money on it when I rented it back in the day. Is it the best game you've ever played? No, it is not. But say it with me, it's a Sony ImageSoft game that's actually fun and creative. That alone is a rare feat. So if you get the chance, check Skyblazer out. It's kind of expensive these days, but if you got one of those magical emulator thingies, then do yourself a favor and load this one up. I really like it when a game punches above its weight, and Skyblazer definitely does that. And it just kind of sucks that so few people ever blazed these skies when it originally came out. And I think that's going to do it for this week, guys. Honestly, there were so many games coming out on the Super NES on a weekly basis that it's understandable that a lot of games fell into the cracks. Heck, it was hard enough to get good info about the popular games at times, let alone games like these that were already fighting an uphill battle to even get noticed. I certainly missed out on a lot myself, so that's why I need you guys to let me know your favorite games. So please do just that in the comments below, while slamming that like button as hard as possible if you happen to like this video. Oh, and maybe even a sub if you found a game that you actually like in this video. But I think that's gonna do it for me this week, guys. Check back next week for a bunch more games to talk about, and until then, thanks for watching.